Hello, fellow Jedi. For years you have done service against the Empire. Now we beg your help in a similar struggle against COVID-19. I regret that I am unable to present this request in person, but I'm sequestered in a safe house for the foreseeable future. I have placed information vital to the prevention of boredom into the memory systems of this unit. Just as we did after Palpatine issued Order 66, we must remain in hiding until the time is right to resume our efforts against the evil that has arisen. You must see these instructions are safely delivered to other Jedi in isolation. Help me, Salem Salafine users. You're my only hope. Begin transmission. Hello, my fellow Jedi. It is the 4th of May, so may the 4th be with you. We have a couple different options for preparing yourself for the isolation due to the rise of COVID-19. The first that we have is kind of more geared towards our Master Jedi, and this is decorating a votive candle holder. The first thing that you will need for this craft is an empty sauce jar, or an empty salsa jar, or any sort of empty glass jar. We're cooking whatever we can these days, right? So the first thing to do is to peel off the label, and that's pretty easy to do because it's just paper. But then you are left behind with this gooey, sticky mess of paper and glue. Don't wash it. Instead, what you're going to do is hold this over the sink and drizzle maybe about a teaspoon or so of olive oil or vegetable oil over this mess. And then take either a sponge, or I used a paper towel, and scrub at it with some elbow grease, and you will eventually get it all off, and then you can wash it with normal soap and water and make it sparkling clean, like this. Even if you don't get it all off, you're going to be covering portions of the jar, and so depending on what you use to adhere to the jar, you might just cover up whatever spot you miss. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to sing the happy birthday song twice. But once you have these empty jars, you can go online and Google silhouettes. That's spelled Silhouette. I had to look it up myself because we are celebrating the 4th of May and May the 4th. I found Han and Leia, our original duo from the original trilogy. You will take scissors and cut out the silhouettes that you've printed off. For the little bit between Leia's head and hair, I used nail scissors because she always has such extravagant do's. When these are cut out of your paper, you're going to take just a regular old ordinary Elmer's glue stick and glue them to the jars. Now, if you're using real candles, you want to glue them to the outside of the jar in order to avoid fire hazard. This is also why we are using glass jars instead of plastic jars like that you get from peanut butter. If you're using the battery operated tea lights and tea candles, those you don't have to worry so much about a fire risk, and you can use plastic jars, and you can also glue things to the inside or the outside of the jar. But in this case, since we're using glass, I have Han and Leia available to keep each other company, and the candles go inside. If you are afraid of getting them tipped over, you can always weigh them down with some sand or some dirt of some sort. And I do have an example for you of what they look like when they're lit. So this is Leia, and then obviously we need to bring in her friend to keep her company, and so we have Han as well. There's a lot of different options out there. If you're not into Star Wars, you could use Marvel comic strip logos. You could use letters. Depending on how much spaghetti you're making these days, you could spell out somebody's name. You could have a heart. You could even go so far as to get a stencil and paint over the rest of the glass and just have a stencil of a heart or the bat signal or something shining through and providing a little beacon of hope in these times of need. The next option that we have to keep yourself occupied during these times of isolation is, I don't know if you noticed my friend R2-D2 here. So as you can see, he's actually pretty sturdy, even though it's just printer paper. He does stand upright on his little legs. The file for these, the link will be available on our description. We get these from cubecraft.com. That's QB with 2 E's, CUBEECRAFT. They have a whole host of other geek fandom options. So if you're not into Star Wars and you're into Doctor Who instead, they have the TARDIS and they have the iterations of the Doctor. If you want R2-D2 to have a little company, they have Stormtroopers and Darth Vader and a few other like Lego Star Wars figurines available, including Obi-Wan, Baby Yoda, and Anakin. So when you have it printed out, you will cut it out, obviously. And then this is where if Padawans, younger Jedis, are doing this craft, they'll want to get the assistance of an older Jedi Master. Because if you look closely, you'll see that some of the tabs are solid, like these little guys up here, and some of the tabs have these white lines, and these are going to have to be slit. And it's the easiest thing in the world for a Master Jedi to get a razor blade or X-Acto knife and a cutting board and just slit those for the young Padawans so that they don't chop them completely off. Next, you'll see that each one has letter A, B, C, so you will hopefully fold them in order. That seems to be the easiest way to go. So before you start folding, you'll see these little creases here, the black lines. So pre-crease everything ahead of time, including the tabs. And then you will fold the top down. They will nest into the top of R2-D2, A, B, C. D is on the side here, and he gets folded in. And then the bottom folds up, E, F, G, F, G, H. And at the end, you will have this little guy. The reason you want to start from the top and work your way to the bottom is because if you didn't quite get everything to stick, you can just take a little piece of tape or a little glue stick and cheat. Because that's what Jedi do, right? Also, you might notice that as I'm moving him around and manipulating him, his head wants to keep popping up, and I would just take a little bit of piece of tape because poor R2 has lost his head too many times already in the series, and we want to put him to rest. So, and then he can keep you company through all of your Zoom or virtual conferences or meetings. If you're looking for something that is a little more challenging, I found on a French website the option to make something quite a bit more complicated, and that would be transportation for R2. We have an X-Wing fighter available for you, and so the link to that will be on our website or on the description of the video. You will have to download them. There are 2 sheets for this one, and as you can see, it's a lot more intricate cutting involved in this. So this will take you several hours as opposed to R2, which will take you several minutes. But that is an option for those who are looking for a little bit more of a challenge. For those who don't want the challenge and are, a little tired after all of their Jedi training from home, there are a handful of masks available of different Star Wars figures. However, I don't have a color printer at home. So what I did was I printed them, traced them, and we've provided the files for you of masks that are available for coloring. So first up is our Ewok friend. And the next option we have is C-3PO, Human Cyborg Relations. The next one is R2-D2, makes a return visit. I did for this one fill in where the eye holes are supposed to be because he has so many other accoutrements, and I didn't want you to accidentally make him a cyborg by mistake. The next is Bubba Fett or Jango Fett or whoever you want to make him. If you want to go the very easy route, we have a Stormtrooper mask already available in white, but you could make him rainbow if you so choose, or you could make him one of the other, more colorful Stormtroopers available in the series. And finally, we have Darth Vadar. These are not just for kids, ladies and gentlemen. You too can have fun with masks. And then the final thing that we have to offer is, for the littlest Padawans, we have a very simple folding craft to make Yoda. So you'll take a piece of green paper, or if you don't have green paper, you can use white and color it with markers or crayons or colored pencils, or if you get desperate, pull out the nail polish and the house paint. You'll make it a square, fold it up so that you have a triangle, fold the bottom part up so it looks like a little hat, and then you will fold from the center line, you'll fold diagonally up in order to make his ears. Flip it over and color in his ears and give him a face. And then the leftover piece of green paper that you might have can be used, if you fold it in half, you can make a little finger puppet and glue that to the back of his head, and you can do a puppet show with poor Yoda. So again, hopefully this will help you in your isolation and celebration of May the 4th and transmission.